So this is a 2021 Citroen EC4, and in this video I just want to talk about the powertrain controls here in this vehicle and other Stellantis electric vehicles. So in this video it's a bit of a moan really, because I just think the design of the powertrain controls here is just really sloppy, and they could have done so much better. However, it works perfectly all right, and majority of people just aren't going to have any issue with it at all. But I think they could have done something so much better here. So in all the Stellantis vehicles, on all their electric vehicles should I say, they use this same setup. I know a couple of them do have a stalk, which would be better instead of this thing. But this switchgear is sort of replicated across all their electric vehicles, and it also includes the Toyota vans as well, because they're rebadged Stellantis vehicles. So this switchgear arrangement is in an awful lot of vehicles now. So before I go into why I think this isn't very good, I'll just show you what each of these things do. So this is a rocker switch here, and this you move down to select drive or move up to select reverse. Here you've got some switches, you press that for park and you press that to turn on the increased regenerative braking effect, and this is your drive mode switch where you can toggle through between sport, normal and eco driving modes. And then back here you've got the electric handbrake. And that functionality there is the same with all electric vehicles, but they all implement that switchgear in different sort of ways. For example, on the Hyundai Ioniq, it's all just switches, which I think is the best option. A lot of cars do have a lever. I think that's very good as well, because that's very easy to change while you're driving, particularly if you've got to drop it into a B mode. That lever is very good because you don't have to look. The drive mode selection is often on the steering wheel on some cars. So they all have the same sort of functionality and need the same amount of switches, as it were, but I think the way they've implemented this is pretty poor. So first off is the scaling of everything, the size of the switchgear. It just baffles me why the thing you use the most is these, why that's the smallest, very tiny little switches, whereas your drive selector you hardly use. And why is that twice as wide and 4 times as long as the things you use the most? It just makes no sense at all. The next thing is this bank of buttons. Well, it's not buttons actually, only the park and B mode are buttons. The 3 in the middle is just lights. So if you were new to this, you would think you could push reverse and drive there, but you can't use the toggle switch. So if you're going to have a toggle switch, why not make the toggle switch do park as well as B mode, and then get rid of those and just have some lights somewhere? Why have a mixture of buttons and a toggle switch all doing the same thing, but each only doing half the job? So in my mind, get rid of the toggle switch completely. Do away with that, just have a row of larger buttons and make them all buttons. Similar to how the Ioniq does it, but it obviously doesn't put them in a line. But if you're going to have buttons, just have buttons. You really don't need this toggle switch. I guess the one reason why you might like the toggle switch is while you're driving, you could select B mode while you're driving, as a lot of vehicles do when you have a sort of a physical lever to grab hold of. So that's valid, but in this case they haven't done that. If you want to select B, you've got to push a switch, and actually because that switch is so small and you can't really feel where it is, you end up looking down to see it before you push it, so you're taking your eyes off the road. So it really is quite a poor design in my mind. So you could do away with the toggle switch and just have some larger gear selector buttons, or do away with those and just have either that toggle switch or something a bit nicer. And then this drive mode toggle, it doesn't need to be a toggle. You could just have one single button that you push multiple times to go through your drive modes, like most other vehicles do. Having this up and down thing really doesn't work particularly well because it doesn't scroll through. If you push up, you go up to sport mode and you can't go any further. You then have to go down. So consequently, you have to look down here to see what you're selecting, look at the screen, and this is all very minor stuff, of course, but it would be far better just to have a push switch, and then you're just looking at the screen and you only push it once or twice, whereas this you can go up or down, and you might go the wrong way to start with, so it ends up being more clicks in the majority of times. So that's my little moan about the switchgear in Stellantis vehicles. Obviously this works perfectly fine and it does the job, but when you've started from scratch, as they've done with these electric vehicles, you would have thought they could have come up with something better than this, and something that looks a lot better than this, and something that's more nicer in your hands, more tactile. If you're going to have buttons, that's fine, buttons are buttons, but you could have had better buttons than this, and you don't need that toggle switch there. It's all just a little bit messy. And as Elon Musk and Sandy Munro says, the best part is no part. So yeah, you could have done away with the toggle or done away with the switches. You don't need two. But anyway, very minor thing. Thought I'd just do a little bit of a moan, but every time I see a Stellantis vehicle, particularly on the vans when this is scattered around in other places on the dashboard, I just look at it every time and think, oh, we could have had something nicer than that. But anyway, do you think the same? If you do, write in the comments below and let me know. One other minor little thing which all the manufacturers are doing, why have all this gloss black plastic everywhere? This would be so much better if this was in matte plastic, or some other finish that doesn't show all the dust and fingerprints and doesn't get scratched. You know, we've got matte plastic all up here, so why not do this in something else, or do it in some sort of wood effect or something else. You could have had all sorts of finishes on there, but manufacturers, it just seems to be still putting just lots of gloss piano plastic in their cars, and yeah, it's just not good. It really shows the dust and shows all these sort of oily, greasy fingerprints and marks. So on this car, we've got it up there on that whole centre console and a big bit there at the bottom of the steering wheel, and it's just not needed. They could do something else that looked better, was more of a contrasting bright material, and wouldn't cost any more at all. So that's it, just a little moan video, but obviously this is all very minor. It's just a little gripe I've got, and I thought I'd share it. So if you found this video useful or liked it, please do click the thumbs up, it does help. If you want to know more about these cars, the Citroen EC4, I'll put a link in the video description below to a playlist where you can see other videos on this car. And I would just say I do love this car. I think it's an excellent electric vehicle. And this is all very minor, just a little gripe I've got. But apart from that, I think these are fantastic vehicles. Okay, that's it. See you on the next video. Okie doke. Bye now.